Welcome in to day 2 of our Final Four coverage here in beautiful San Antonio, Texas. We are live from Smoke Sky Bar, and as you guys can see, got the gang here. More and more guys getting in. We got T.O., Terrence Oglesby here, Matt McCall is here, Mike LaTulip's here. I'm John Martin. We have a packed show for you today. Lots of great guests coming up. Jeff Goodman will be here a little bit later. We're going to have Pat Kelsey. We're going to have Matt Painter. We are going to have an absolutely packed show. But before we get into all of that and obviously the games themselves, let's talk about everybody's favorite part of college basketball.
The portal?
TOs for sure. TOs for sure.
And NIL. This is what it's all about, right? This is where this is how Final Fours are really made.
The transfer portal.
It is. And one of the big winners, we're going to have Pat Kelsey on a little bit later, is Pat Kelsey, T.O. They've cleaned up Isaac McNeely, the latest Louisville commitment today, adding to Adrian Woolley, Ryan Conwell. What have you made of the job that Pat Kelsey has done in the portal so far?
I think the big thing is you lose Rain Smith, the guy who hit 10 threes in a game against SMU earlier this season, and then you're able to add a guy with more size who hasn't had the 10 three-point game, obviously, but at the same time it's a guy that can get hot, can play a role, a little bit bigger defensively that's going to be able to do some of those things. Louisville's not slowing down. They also, I want to say in January, got a commitment from a kid from Germany, 6'10", really good athlete. His name escapes me, so I apologize. But this is a Louisville program right now under Pat Kelsey that has the funding, they have the talent, and it's just going to keep going because of the way he pushes the envelope. And keep in mind, too, Ali Khalifa, who sat out last year, back in the mix. Kobe Rogers sat out last year, back in the mix. Kaysen Pryor, from what I've been hearing, will be back in a Louisville jersey tentatively. That's not 100%. Don't get your panties in the water right now, Louisville fans. But it is tentative that he's going to be able to come back to the Louisville Cardinal program. I'm excited about that program. The ACC adding those guys, Will Wade to NC State. There's a lot of positive momentum, but that is 3 really good players. We didn't even talk about Ryan Conwell, who you guys really know.
Do I get to keep this hat, by the way?
No, you have to switch it up.
Do I get to
It
keep
is
this
Jordan
hat?
brand. That's a good start.
It is a Jordan brand. That's a good
start.
I think we should change the name, not to Pat Kelsey, but to Portal Kelsey.
Portal Kelsey.
Because, look, you see what he did this year in being able to basically take over a dumpster fire. It was not good when he walked through the door. And he got them back to the NCAA tournament. I think that's a successful season. This is the positive part of the transfer portal, when you're able to flip it. Now, what he did this year, and you guys have heard me say this, and what Dusty May did this year in year 1, that's not the norm. Like, that's not the norm in your first year to be able to flip a program completely. Now, it's going to become the expectation because of the transfer portal, but it's not the norm what these coaches are doing. But this is the positive aspect. The transfer portal, everybody wants to talk about in a negative light. This is the positive light of the transfer portal, being able to flip a situation when you walk through the door that was not in a good place. And we know Cardinal fans, we know Louisville, the environment in the Yum Center, they care about their basketball. They care at a high level about their basketball. And he's continuing to show and use the transfer portal in a positive light. So it's no longer Pat Kelsey, it's Portal Kelsey.
It is Portal Kelsey.
Yeah.
And the most impressive thing that Pat Kelsey has done and that staff has done, when you look at the additions of Woolley and Conwell and McNeely, oftentimes in the portal, when you see quick additions, it's usually just, hey, get the talent, we'll figure it out later. Every single time they are able to get guys, it makes sense. And that's what's so impressive. In this time frame, to get the guys that they got, and you can say, okay, Conwell can play on the ball, can play off the ball. McNeely, great spacer. Woolley, on the ball, off the ball. Like, it all makes sense, and that's a great way, I think, for him to start, because, there's still work to be done to finish out that roster, but this is a hell of a start.
Mr. McCall, I want to come back to you for a minute because, you're my guy. You appreciate, because you've lived the hardships of college coaching. You know how hard it is, right? But and this doesn't really apply to Pat because he's done a good job already, but when you have the resources and you have the NIL, you talked about being able to flip your roster, it also means you're going to get less time. You're going to get less patience.
100%.
And I'm just wondering how you feel about that, because your heart bleeds for the college coach.
Yeah, I mean, you are going to get less time and less patience, especially if you do have all the resources, if you do have the NIL rev sharing. We'll see what happens, coming down the pipe here. But yeah, you're not going to get the time.
You're getting like 2 years. Like,
max.
We'll increase your budget, and then if you do it again,
which
you're
is
gone.
unfortunate, but that's the reality of where we are right now in college athletics. I mean, coaches are getting bought out. You know, basically, it doesn't even matter, right? Like, it's like if it's going a certain way and it's not going in a positive direction, man, they're going to get the next guy to come in there. It's a challenge, and it's difficult. But I look at the 4 teams that are here, and I think they utilize the transfer portal in a lot of different ways, maybe than how Pat Kelsey's doing it. But all 4 of these teams also had another thing: retention.
Oh yeah,
A lot of it.
Retention.
multi-year
in
guys.
today's game.
Retention.
Multi-year guys.
Retention. So as important as the portal is, and as everyone is consumed with it, and it's the reason that you know, you guys have heard me say this too. Like, Jay Lucas doesn't get an opportunity to be a part of this magical run that Duke's going on because of what? The transfer portal. Because everyone's paranoid that they're going to be behind the 8 ball.
I'm not crying for him, man. My man's living down in South Beach.
It's a nice place.
He's got a lot of if you need a house down there, call this guy.
But being a part of a national championship, being part of a national championship, like, money can't buy that. Money can't buy those memories. You know, it can't buy those memories. So
you can buy me a boat.
It can buy you a boat, yes, but
I can make memories on a boat for sure.
I do think this has becoming more of the norm because if you look up and down, especially, you know, I pay most attention to the ACC just because where I live, but like Clemson's recycling everybody. Even Dale Jones, the guy they thought, the only guy they have coming back, Dylan Hunter. You look at Florida State, complete reboot. You look at Miami, complete reboot. So you're looking at every team is dealing with kind of the same thing. We got to get to a point to where you can at least sign 2-year deals. And without the employment thing, it's not going to happen. But you have to get to a point where you can at least sign 2-year deals. I think it's doing an injustice to everybody, coaches and players alike, because players aren't protected and the coaches aren't protected. We got to figure some middle ground out.
Well, I think you fall into – you can turn it over quickly like Pat Kelsey did.
Yeah.
Or you can do what Miami did and fall into the depths of hell.
Just be terrible.
Pretty quickly. So that's the paranoia.
They were horrible.
That's the coaching paranoia.
I just find it – I find it wild that Louisville is going to be be the best team in the state of Kentucky next year.
Oh.
Like, that's a
smoke with every fan base.
Early in the show.
We're here for it.
Takes.
I mean, that is crazy.
You ain't even had a beer yet. Just throwing out hot takes.
No, that is.
Let's got my coffee. I just got here an hour ago.
I will say, though, like, while we're talking about it, we'll get to Silas Demery. We're being told we're contractually obligated to discuss that by our boss. Your relationship with the portal, I mean, you can't get addicted to it. No. You can't get addicted to the portal, because I thought you brought up a good point, Matt. 4 of 5 starters for Houston and Auburn, multi-year guys, right? I believe the number for Florida is 3, but then they bring Howe off the bench, so I mean, he's essentially a starter. So Duke is an anomaly because they have a generational freshman class, but you can't.
But Proctor came back.
No, exactly. He's their point guard. So I think the portal is good, sort of. Elijah Martin was obviously a great addition for Florida.
But Elijah Martin came to Florida because his coach goes to Michigan.
Sure.
Right? Like, who knows
it's not a bad
if
thing.
those guys decided to run it back again at FAU, which none of us thought was going to happen.
And Elijah did prove that he's willing to come back, because he did it the second year.
But I'm just like,
FAU.
you can't indulge too much. Sort of, I think when the most successful, even if you want to zoom out to the Elite 8, nothing but continuity in the Elite 8. Like,
retention. You
can't. Like, if you're going to do the portal thing, make sure those guys do stick around for more than a year. The 1-year churning is not going to get you where you want to go.
Let me ask you this, McCall, since you've been a head coach at several different schools, what would you go? And I have a theory. I'm sure Tulip has a theory, but would you grab them early, like Pat Kelsey is like, I'll figure out how I can adjust to them? Or is it like, are you recruiting to your system? I'm curious what you would do.
Well, I think the ability to adapt to the times, you have to a certain extent. But you want players and you want your staff to recruit players that are about the things you're about and know who you can coach. Pat Kelsey, with his energy, and I don't think the guy ever sleeps, doesn't ever go to bed. It pretty much seems that way.
It's unbelievable.
But give him whoever, as long as they're going to go out there and play hard, he's going to be able to coach them. For me, it was more like I need guys that I know I can coach. I know
It's hard to do. It's hard to do background checks in
hard.
2 weeks, though.
It's impossible. But if you take one wrong one,
He can ruin the whole bit. He
One.
can ruin the whole thing.
it's not football. You do 85 scholarships, that's a different deal. In basketball, you take one wrong one, and you and that one player aren't on the same page, he's going to destroy your locker room.
Ask
And
Memphis
if you
in
don't make-
2023-24. They were top 10 in the country, and they fell apart because they
just
had
telling
one
you.
of
Ben
those guys.
McCollum did an interview the other day. He said, "I do not take moody guys. If you're moody, if you're a guy
He wouldn't
that,
have taken a single field of 68 guy. That's
if you're
a fact.
if you're a
We're
guy
out
that
of
takes
luck.
energy away, we can't take it." But the other point that I'll
Yeah.
make too, because again we're in this turnover era, rebuild quickly. I think I've noticed, and I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this too. Systems are simplified nowadays, both offensively and defensively. Offensively, we just teams run a lot of zoom action, or there's a lot of commonalities between systems now across college basketball, and the same goes for defensively. We're just going to sit back and drop. It's easier when the systems are simplified. Tennessee, we're going to run a lot of floppy. When systems are simplified, it's easier to get players ramped up more quickly. I think that's just what I've noticed over the years, and I think it's out of necessity, because if you got this system that, hey, usually a freshman would pick up on midway through their sophomore year and have it down, they got to have it down quickly, a lot more quickly than they used to.
I think what we're seeing too is guys calling plays in sequences as opposed to calling just plays.
100%. Yeah,
Like,
it's
you're not-
continuities.
you're not
Everything's
calling
You
continuities.
go to
Yeah.
shoot around, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's
This
right.
is what we're doing.
And then
Yep.
if you can score on any of these options, that's what's
Then
going
we'll
to
stick
happen.
with
And that's what Pope at Kentucky does. That's what a lot of these guys are doing. You call sequences of plays as opposed to single plays, which is what we all grew up with, right? Like we would call, like for example, we would call a play wolves, and it would be a side ball screen, stagger on the other side. Well, they would call that in sequences so guys don't get lost to the thing. And I think that's going to be more and more.
We had teams across the Big Ten when I was playing there. You know, we knew that Michigan would run a lot of their chin action and elbow action. Then they had this whole tree based off of that system. Same thing with Nebraska would run their
Such a pain to scout.
their buffalo
Such a
action,
pain to
and they'd
scout.
have their tree off of that. Now it's just continuities. It feels like.
All right, another bit of news today in the portal.
What?
Yeah.
More?
We again contractual obligations. To do you want to get paid for this week or not, man?
We get paid?
I think so.
Oh.
But check.
Okay.
Check to make sure. Silas Demery going to UConn. Interesting fit. Where are you at on it?
I mean, I think, look,
Tio just put his mic down.
yeah, he just put his mic down.
I feel like I can hog the mic sometimes, so I'm trying to
No. I think
trying to be more of a team first guy.
That was directed for you, though.
Okay,
I
sorry.
think another guy
No,
that
big
does-
guards. Big guards. That's kind of the
guards.
adjustment.
Yeah.
Right.
That's his thing. And I think another guy that doesn't just take anybody in the portal than Coach Hurley. He has the retention. He has the development piece. He takes freshmen. If he's going to take a guy in the portal, he makes sure it's the right fit. That's what he's been doing the last couple years.
Yeah. No, it is. And going back, you talked about the big guards. That's clearly been a point of emphasis. That team that was so decorated and won so much the previous 2 years, who you got? You got Steph Castle. You got Tristan Newton. You got Cam Spencer. I mean, there wasn't a ton of small guards out there. And so I think very highly of Hassan Diarra. I like Hassan Diarra.
Yeah.
Aiden Mahaney's a good player, but they're limited. And I can say
Bad
I can
fit.
say that because I was also limited athletically and
Great
with length.
backups.
Yeah. Yes.
Phenomenal.
absolutely. Yeah.
If they're your backups, you're winning.
Thrusted
a
into a
national
bigger role.
Yes,
It's difficult.
100%.
So you go back to a guy that can carry that load a little bit, I think.
I think it also shows how hard it is because Aiden Mahaney looked like a superstar on film when he was
At
playing
St.
for St.
Mary's,
Mary's.
yeah.
Like if you just go on Synergy and you just look at his makes, they're awesome.
Yeah.
However, slight build, struggled a little bit changing direction, really frail. That's not Big East. Like forget UConn for a second. Big East basketball, by and large, a lot of juniors and seniors, a lot of like wide-shouldered dudes. You can't have that, right? Like I even think, besides the 4 and 5 spots at Memphis, like they would have been small Big East teams, especially at the 1, 2, 3, right? Like a lot of these guys, whenever you play Big East ball, it's grown man ball, and it's hard to recruit guys like Aiden Mahaney and have that fit because while he is quick, he's not like otherworldly quick. He is a shot maker, but struggled against size in the WCC last year. So you look at Silas, pronounce it for me.
Demery.
Demery. Like
Tio's
6'5",
personal
athletic.
translator.
That's what I need. I don't have a pronunciation sheet here.
You don't have a rundown in front of you?
No rundown. I don't need it.
That's coming. We're working on
But
it.
here's the thing is, bigger guards. That's what you need in the Big East to win. I mean, even if you look at Georgetown, smaller this year, they were much better, but small on the 1-2 with Mac and Jaden Epps.
Yes.
Need bigger guards.
100%.
Yes. Also, news, Matt McCall, I don't know if it was unexpected or what, but Solo Ball is returning to UConn. So I'm just wondering, is this setting up, not that the world necessarily needs it, but is this setting up UConn Dan Hurley redemption in 25-26?
Well, you knew he was going to be fired up after losing that Florida game, a game that
He's never not fired up.
They had chances and opportunities in that basketball game to advance in the NCAA tournament, but you knew when that clock hit 0, there was no, hey, guys, let's catch our breath. Everybody maybe go take a couple days. No, it's back to the office. Let's meet with who we need to meet with, and let's make sure that we're putting the right guys on this roster to be able to get us back to being the Big East champion, to competing for Final Fours. And him coming back is big. And, you know,
The thing is, they weren't bad this year.
They weren't bad at all.
That's the crazy part. But the expectations are so big.
National champion. Yeah. And, to him coming back, he was thrusted into another role this year that he's not used to being in solo ball. And
I thought he was
development.
I thought he thrived. Though,
he did. And playing those types of reps are only going to make him better. Go back 2 years ago when Purdue loses in the first round, when Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith were freshmen, and everybody blamed them for losing in the first round. Everybody blamed them because they turned it over, and look what Braden Smith did. Had Braden Smith not had a defensive lapse in the game the other day against Houston, those 15 assists, how he handled that defense, how much poise he played with in the game, going through the experiences has made him better. It's going to make solo ball better too.
Curious to see what UConn does in the front court.
Yes.
Terrace Reed.
I mean, but there's going to be more than Terrace Reed.
They're going to Caravan. What's Caravan's decision as well? I mean, I think you need. I think
he's a fourth option.
Well, I agree with
that.
He's
probably the best fourth option in college basketball.
I agree with that. Like he's an elite role player.
Yes,
absolutely, like no question. Yes, he's an elite role player. But when you slide those scales, when you slide that and like have an elite role player have to be a 1 or a 2 or a 3, it's hard, and that's nothing against Alex Caravan. But I thought part of the issue, not an issue, but I think what Dan Hurley was banking on after the 2 national championships was, hey, you know what? We'll bring guys in, and our culture we've built this culture. Our culture will carry us. And then you see, like, you do still need to go back and say, well, what made us successful? Yes, great culture, hard-nosed, but they did have positional size. Like real positional size, and I think this is him. I think getting back to those ways.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a monster show today, and you've
love those.
You've already been
those.
You've already been a huge part of it, T.O. and Matt McCall, just for you guys being here.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since Vegas. I had to get out of there.
I missed you guys.
I wasn't even allowed to eat a meal out in Vegas. You had to try to go over and get a hamburger every now and then. It was unbelievable.
Nobody holds down a karaoke bar like you.
I actually think some labor laws were violated. We're checking on that.
Yeah. Check with the HR department.
Yeah, that's just yet another one.
He's back there behind the camera.
What's he doing?
Not paying attention.
HR is going crazy. So it's going to be yet another one for the Field of 68. But, yes, we have Matt Painter is going to join us. Pat Kelsey is going to be here. New Virginia coach Ryan Odom is going to be with us. And then Jay Williams and Doug Gottlieb. So, and you never know who might just fall in.
File in.
Quinn's here.
Quinn is here.
You opened the door for him. This guy's a real gentleman.
That man went on an epic rant. like I'm not going to sit here and hate on the rant. I thought this guy was pretty good. Like he goes there into that much detail. And breaks it down for me.
And he showed up.
He did. He showed up. He ducks
Receipts.
no smoke.
No, I'm a little worried for you, to be honest. So
I don't know about that.
We do have Field of 68 security as well here. It's also the HR guy. So
coincidentally,
he does everything for us. All right, we'll be back. Lots more to come. Field of 68. Stick around.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. I want my home to feel like my home. So whether I'm looking for big furniture, just a small piece for my place, or maybe some storage solutions for the basement or the garage, the answer is Wayfair. Seriously, I needed a new patio set and fire pit for my backyard. I bought it on Wayfair. It looks great on our deck, and it gives me an excuse to fire up the smoker, invite some friends over, crack a couple beers. Just last week, I bought a new chair for my office, someplace comfortable to sit while the madness takes up the 4 screens in front of me. I got it on Wayfair, clicked a few buttons. A couple days later, it showed up at my front door. They even offered to help set it up for you. Digging through online stores can be intimidating. Trust me, I know. It can be hard to find what you're looking for in your price range, but not on Wayfair. They have great options, even if you are balling on a budget like me. Wayfair has every style for every home, including mine and yours. So head to wayfair.com and shop everything home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
People have opinions about me, strong ones. Some compare my brand to the competition and call me a copycat. Some say that I'm just watered down, that I fall flat. I've heard it all. But the people who get me, they say I'm different, subtle, but balanced. Nothing to hide, nothing artificial. And once they give me a chance, they keep coming back for more. For more dab water. That's right, I'm talking about dab water, and I swear by it. No bubbles, no fizz, just a smooth, refreshing canned cocktail made with real tequila. 100 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and gluten-free. Find Dab Water's 4 flavors in an 8-pack variety pack or single flavor 6-packs. Dab Water invites you to enjoy its great lineup of products all tournament long. Take it from me, Jeff Goodman. Sometimes the most polarizing things are the best things. Dab Water, tequila, water, natural flavors.
Welcome back, Field of 68, Day 2, live from San Antonio, the Smoke Sky Bar here in beautiful San Antonio, Texas.
Hell of a setup.
It is. It's a beautiful. You look out at all the industry, the Drury Inn. It's beautiful.
The what inn?
Whole lot of
Drury
industry.
Inn.
The
The
Drury
conglomerate.
Inn?
The Drury Inn.
The
Yeah,
conglomerate.
it's only 2 syllables, not
Drury.
jewelry.
Drury Inn.
It's not like jewelry.
Look,
it's not like
you're-
brewery.
you're-
It's
Drury
actually
Inn.
pronounced Jurley.
He's actually harassing me about my accent.
HR.
So that's another.
John
complaint.
Martin, big union guy.
He's
Totally
a big union.
That's
guy.
all union out there. You got the IMAX, you got the La Quinta, you got everything out there. So it's a beautiful setup here. Hampton Inn, couldn't leave them out. Rob Doster is here, and he's incorrigible. He is forcing us to once again talk about UConn's.
I'm not forcing. We don't have to talk about it, but T.O. said he was a doubter.
You
It's a
felt
big
like you
get.
needed to
I'm
clear
not-
something up.
T.O.'s
big get.
T.O.'s
Is it
a
a big
doubter.
get?
T.O. I think it is a big
It
get.
is.
Okay.
I think it is a big
That's
get.
what I'm saying. I'm asking a question.
Drury Demery.
Can I talk you into it?
I'm waiting for
All
it.
right. So one of the biggest issues that UConn had this past season, it was twofold. One, backcourt was small.
Yeah, that was
6
really
foot,
big.
6 foot in the backcourt.
Yeah.
Silas Demery, 6'5", 210. Right.
Big guy.
Big guy.
Second part of it
He's
is
a big guy.
Big
that
guy.
what really hampered them in big possessions and key
Big possessions.
was that they didn't have someone you could give the ball to and you knew something would happen, right? The thing that made Tristan Newton so valuable wasn't because he was like the most efficient guy or had the best assist to turnover ratio or was the best shooter, but when you got to the end of a clock, if they run all their stuff, they don't get a shot. With 10 seconds left on the shot clock, you put the ball in Tristan Newton's hands and just said, go make something happen, go draw a foul, go get to the line, go create a shot for somebody.
Yeah.
And he could do it. Silas Demery averages 5.5 free throws a game, shoots 37% from 3.
And played in a big physical SEC this
Big
year.
physical SEC. Go look at his numbers. Look what he did the last 6 weeks of the season.
Oh.
He was one of the best guards in the SEC the last 6 weeks of the season. He made the leap already. I would expect that to continue at UConn, and he is the profile that you want. Shout out to Profile. He's the profile that you want of a UConn point guard.
Yep.
And I think that he's going to come in and have a big impact. It's the same. It's a situation similar to Bennett Sturts at Iowa.
Big guard,
Big guard, big
situation.
possession.
Big possession.
It's UConn. We don't do things small. We cut down nets. We hang banners. We win games in March. What do you know about that, Memphis?
Big.
I can't really say shit.
And I think you make a good point about the end of the clock.
Yes.
That's the big thing, and Solo Ball's good at it. He's not great at it.
But he's not- like,
that's
he'll run
not
off
really
a
his
screen,
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So you need Demery to be able to create something in the last 6 seconds when all else fails. And we alluded to it before you came on. It's one of those things in the Big East, not just nationally, but in the Big East. If something doesn't work, you got to have big physical guys to at least get it up at the rim, and Demery can be that guy.
Yeah, that's what I like about him. And before the only other thing I'll
One
say
last
is
word
that
on Silas Demery.
one last word. We
Big
should make
get.
the entire show about. Can we do 3 hours on Silas Demery?
I think
I'd rather do 3 hours on Seton Hall.
I
you
think
know?
we should-
Hey, Bud Clark.
Bud Clark.
They just added a 5'7" Merrimack transfer. Watch out, Dagan. They're
All
back.
in.
They're
All
back.
in.
Haul in, baby. I don't remember what I was going to say now, so you go ahead.
Perfect.
No, I was just going to say, I think we can all agree that Dan Hurley, as far as the clipboard goes, X's and O's, one of the best tacticians in college basketball. But you don't want to be so system dependent like I thought they were this year. They were very system dependent, where you didn't have guys that could go off script.
Yes.
Like Tristan Newton, like to your point, and I think Demery can be that. So I didn't.
You made that
Go
point
ahead.
about Kentucky earlier this season, too, when they lost Lamont and they lost some of their guards. System dependency, and you saw Kentucky struggle towards the end.
Yeah.
Seemed to be the case for UConn all year, kind of the same issue. A lot of those elongated offenses.
Yep.
Yep.
And when you get behind, it's harder to come back because you
Exactly.
still need to rely on the offense to have, and it's longer possessions. You just need a guy. If Terrace Reed ends up coming back, we'll see. Sounds good at this point, but you need a guy that's like, hey, if we need to get back in the game, come step up, 5-on-1 ball screen, high ball screen, and just let a guy play and read and react. And I just didn't think they had that this year.
Yeah. If Terrace Reed announces he's coming back live on the show,
I will let you know.
someone let me know?
I will let you know.
Because that happened yesterday with solo
I saw
ball.
the solo. I
completely
saw the
missed
solo
it.
ball commitment on my phone,
completely
sitting
missed it.
behind the camera back there, and I was like, I'll just tell Rob. I'll tell Rob later.
You did.
or I
No one-
assumed.
no
I
one broke the
assumed you
news
saw
to me.
it.
No
I
one broke the
assumed you
news to me.
saw it.
So what I have a bunch of the news breakers on notifications on Twitter, and what I did was I turned off I put it on Do Not Disturb. So nothing came through while
You
the
need
show
to be
was
like
on.
me and have my Apple Watch going off in the middle of the show.
Yeah. How many phone calls did you get yesterday? 7?
Too many.
8,
Too
10,
many.
12?
Too many.
Last thing I'll say. Here, I don't think
This is the
either,
last thing on Silas.
I don't think this is the point I was going to make.
This
and
is
I forgot
biggest
what I was
point.
gonna say. I don't think in a vacuum either Bennett Sturtz or Silas Demery are two of the top 5 basketball players that were in the portal or that were available. But I think that Bennett Sturtz in Ben McCollum's system makes him probably the most valuable point guard for Ben McCollum. And I would make the argument that of all the look at the top 5 point guards, lead guards, whatever in the portal, Silas Demery is the best fit for what UConn needs.
I would agree with
And
that.
so I think that's why it's such a valuable get. It's not like he's going to end up being the guy that makes it to the NBA.
100% based on just sort of how he looked at
It's like if you have a turbo meter on your video game, everybody's at like 85%.
Yeah.
I do think I'm interested to see. It's going to be told in the first 8 minutes of the game how